Hi, my name is Jandre. I'm the founder of a top 1% marketing agency called V8 Media. I'm also the CEO of the V8 Group. I want to thank you for being open to consuming some of my content. I'm going to try my best not to bore you to death whilst trying to add as much value as possible. Now that said, let's just dive straight into today's video. Organic posting. Is it something that you need to do as a small to medium-sized business? Do you have to do it religiously in order to find new clients and customers online? Or are there better strategies out there? So in order to make the best decision for our business, we have to zoom out, put all the information on the table, look at it, scrutinize it from all angles, so that we can make the best decision for where we are and where we want to go. Cool, so by the title of this video, we know that organic posting is one way of doing it. But what else is there? Well, there's something called SEO, which is search engine optimization, which is you ranking organically on, the search engines like Google and Bing and so forth. So let's make that strategy number 2. Then there's also influencer marketing. Let's make that number 3. And I like talking about paid ads. So let's make that strategy number 4. So some might say that email and SMSs are great ways to, get people to buy from you. That's great. But the reality is you first need that prospect or that lead's information so that you can send them an email or an SMS. And in today's video, we want to talk about how to actually get that. So SMS and email is more of a back-end strategy once you've actually gotten the attention and someone interested in the product or service. Today, we want to focus on the actual strategies that can allow you to do that. Okay, so we have our 4 top macro strategies, which is posting online, SEO, influencer marketing, and paid ads. So here's a simple formula I like to use to determine whether a strategy is suitable for my needs. This is an amazing formula that you can follow if you're a small business on a limited budget. The reason I say this is because we have 4 quadrants, which means we have 2 axes. We have the horizontal axis, which is time, meaning how long does it take to actually see results. Then we have the vertical axis, which is predictability, meaning if we start getting results, how constant can we actually generate the same results? How predictable can the strategy be for our business in acquiring and finding new clients online? Okay, so when we look at the horizontal axis, which is time, anything longer than 6 months is considered a long period of time to get results, and anything that's less than 6 months, we would assume is a short period of time to get results. Now, ideally, we want results a lot faster than 6 months, but that is just how we're breaking up the quadrants for now. So from a predictability standpoint, which is the vertical axis, the higher we go up, the more predictable the results will be, and the lower we go down, the less predictable it will be. Now, we get that there's no such thing as linear results, but this is just, again, diagram that we can use in order to paint a picture for ourselves and what strategy will be best for our business based on our resources and our own objectives. So ideally, if you're a small to medium-sized business on a limited budget, you want to find a strategy that is going to be on the left-hand side of the time axis, and it's going to be as high as possible on the predictability side of things. I hope I'm making some sense here, because ideally, we want to make rational business decisions. So in theory, we want to find a strategy that is going to take a short amount of time, that's going to have a high predictability of getting us results, because ideally we want to invest money, get it back as quickly as possible, and we want to make consistent profits as often as possible, as any other business owner would. That is unless if you have infinite amount of patience, thinking that you're going to live forever, and maybe if you like wasting money, you might opt for something different. But I doubt that business owners enjoy wasting money, and I doubt that any of them are vampires. So let's start with SEO, because this is something that can be very effective for any business. However, it does take an amount of time to really get results. So from what we've seen, anything from 4 to 6 months is usually the time frame for you to start seeing an increase in traffic. And the reason it takes so long is because, 1, it is quite competitive, but number 2, you don't really see an increase in traffic unless you're actually on page 1. So you're going to do a lot of hard work for 3 to 4, 5, 6 months to get to page 1, but when you get there, the results can be quite consistent. And the reason I say they're quite consistent is because the things that you're going to have to take into account is competition and algorithm updates, and both of those can be controlled if you have an expert doing it for you, or if you've upskilled yourself on how to manage that in-house. So in theory, as long as you maintain a healthy position on page 1, you should see a constant supply of traffic coming your way. Now, there is still a predictability debate to be had, because it doesn't mean that every single month you're going to get a ton of leads. There might be some months where you a higher amount of leads, where other months where things drop a little bit, depending, if your product or service is seasonal, depending on search trends and so forth. But for the sake of the argument, we're going to say that it is fairly predictable. So when it comes to putting this on the actual diagram, we're going to put SEO on the right hand side of the time axis, that is. And like I said, it takes anything between 4 to 6 months to really start seeing results. Some brands would start seeing an increase in traffic from 6 to 8, sometimes even 10 months. So we're going to put that just on the right hand side. of the horizontal axis, which would be our 6 months time frame. We're going to move that up somewhat quite high from a predictability standpoint, because like I said, if you maintain that position, there shouldn't be any reason why your traffic should decline. And if you're ranking for the right keywords, then you should see a somewhat consistent quality of leads coming your way. All right, so that is SEO. Now let's have a look at influencer marketing. How long does it take? Well, if you get the right influencer, you could see results almost immediately. However, finding the right influencer can take some time. But for the sake of this video, we're going to assume that you already know who the perfect influencer is. So in terms of time, we're going to put this on the left-hand side. And the reason it can be instant is because if you are in a specific niche and you have someone in that industry that's quite popular, who people follow for that specific reason, then giving them product and having them talk about your product should immediately allow you to see a spike in traffic. And if their audience is of quality, then you should also see an increase in sales. Now, if you've used more than 10 influencers in your life and you've got some experience in this industry, then you'll know it is usually a hit and a miss. It's kind of like a spray and pray approach, hoping for the best, because you never know how an influencer's audience is going to react. So from a predictability standpoint, there's not much to say. We're going to keep this just on the borderline of neutral. So we're not going to say it is high. We're not going to say it's low. We're just going to keep it there to be safe and fair to influencer marketing. Now, some might say, well, why don't you just have the same influencer post over and over? And that is a good question. But the reality is, you need to keep in mind that if you're going to be giving the same person a message every single month to post about your business, and that message is going to be seen by the same audience every single month, unless the influencer's audience is growing like wildfire, where new eyeballs are coming in every single month. But that's rarely the case. And also, as the influencer's audience grows, they're most likely going to charge you more to get entry to that audience as well. So the reason I won't advise that you give the same influencer the same message every single month is because you're going to be reaching the same people month in and month out, meaning there might be some form of diminishing returns over time in that relationship, as most of the people probably would have seen that message. What you need is new eyeballs, because remember, there's two ways to grow a business. One, you need to find new customers every single month, and you need to bring them back. So having that influencer post is a great way for their audience to see it for the first time, but then the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time, you're not really tapping into new eyeballs. You most likely just staying top of mind, which is not the most predictable way of growing the business, because in order to match that predictability, you need a mix of finding new people and bringing people back. So we're going to leave the influencer marketing on the left hand side in terms of time when it comes to impact. We're going to keep it neutral in terms of predictability. Right, next up we've got organic posting. Now, if you are starting from scratch, the question is, how quickly can you really build up an audience for your brand? Now, the reality is, it's the minority of brands that can really grow beyond 10 to 20,000 people in less than 8 to 12 months. Obviously, achieving a bigger sized audience in a shorter period of time is possible, but it usually requires a form of ad spend behind it in order to achieve. Or the content that is being created is content that has just got a very highly likelihood of going viral, which is a 0.1% chance. And that's being optimistic at the end of the day. The accounts that do see a high amount of follower growth in a short period of time are usually personal brands, because people like to follow people and not so much faceless corporations. So therefore, if you're going to start a business and if you're not going to be the person of the face of that business, then there's a high likelihood that your follower growth is not going to grow as fast. And the organic algorithm is just not in your favor anymore. It is not Facebook of 2013 anymore. We're living in a world where the organic reach is very, very suppressed, which means that every time you post, there's a very small chance of people actually seeing it. In fact, an average of 1 to 2% of your audience might see the post that you are spending all this time, effort, and money on. So if we just had to recap, building an audience takes time, whether you're a brand or an individual. It is quicker if you're an individual, going to be longer if you are a brand. Now, considering that you have built up a decent following, you're sitting with the same situation you would be sitting if you had an influencer, and that is that you're most likely going to be sending a message out to the same amount of people, day in and day out, if you had to post daily, unless your audience grew exponentially, which is possible, but very unlikely. So with that said, then there's again the probability that you're going to have diminishing returns after you've built up this audience, unless you find new ways to build the audience quicker so that there's always fresh eyes on the posts that you want to make, which is again not very likely to happen. So if we have to place this on our chart, we will put organic posting on the right hand side, because it is going to take time to build up an audience. And from a predictability standpoint, we can't really do much more than influencer marketing, because again, there's no predictable way for you to spit out leads and potential customers by posting organically, because you're fighting all these algorithms. So we're going to keep it neutral to be fair. Right, now let's talk about paid ads. How quickly can it work? So some brands can see results as quickly as 30 days, but we always say give it 90 days for you to determine really whether this is something worth continuing or not. So after 90 days, you're going to have a clear indication if this is working for your business or not at all. The reason I say that is because it's almost like a tap. When you put money into Facebook, you're going to get traffic out. The question you need to ask yourself is, will you be able to optimize your ads to ensure that you get quality traffic? And will you be able to tweak your sales page or online store, or whatever you're driving people, to ensure that the high amount of quality traffic actually converts into leads and sales? But if we have to put paid ads on the time axis, then we're going to have to put it on the left-hand side, because it's very similar to influencer marketing. If you're giving an influencer with a big audience a message and a post to make about your business, people will see it and they will most likely click through to your website. Same with paid ads. The moment you turn on the budget, traffic is going to come your way. So it is possible to see results early on. Now that we can see that it's something that takes a short amount of time to, get the traffic and to potentially see something happen, let's talk about the predictability. Can you generate healthy results month in and month out? Well, if you know what you're doing, I want to say yes. Do I have any proof of this? Again, yes, I do. Let's quickly have a look, shall we? Here are some results from our own e-commerce brand that we started in June last year. Here's a screenshot of July, which will be month 2 of running ads. Cool. We can see here that we spent 18,000 Rand a month on marketing in July. We made 77,000 Rand back, which is a 4.28x ROAS, which means revenue back on the money that we spent. So for every Rand we spent, we got 4.28 Rand back in revenue. So now that sounds amazing, but the question is, can we keep up this momentum? So let's quickly have a look and see what we did in August, the next month. Here we can see that we spent 32k on marketing. That is 14,000 Rand more than the prior month. This time we made back 144,000 Rand in revenue, which is a 4.52x ROAS. So it's safe to say that for those 2 months, it's been consistent. But let's move ahead and look at November. Now, November is Black Friday. People are ready to buy, but just have a look at these stats, shall we? We can see now that we spent 60,000 Rand on marketing, which is now almost 3 times more than in July. We made 240,000 Rand back, which is roughly a 4x return. I think it was 3.9 to be exact. So we can see that it's still semi-what predictable, and it will continue to be predictable as long as we keep an eye on the account. But let's take this further. Let's have a look at December and January, because these months are quite volatile. So in December, we decided to spend 50k on marketing, which is about 10,000 Rand less than November. But how's this? We made 300,000 Rand back, which is now a 6x ROAS. So we're making more money back than we made before. Cool. Just a side note, obviously we did some Christmas deals, but nonetheless, we can see that we still found a way to predictably grow this account. Let's have a look at January, because January is usually quite a slower month. In January, we spent 80,000 Rand on ads. This is now 20,000 Rand more than November, 30,000 Rand more than January, and it's double that we started with in July. We made 400,000 Rand back, which is a 5.14x ROAS. And that is now 6 months later than what we've started, which means it's safe to say that you can predictably use paid ads to grow your business. So if we want to put paid ads on the predictability scale, which is the vertical axis, then we need to put this quite high, because we have proof that it is a predictable way to grow your business. Now, I don't want to be unfair to SEO, so we're going to put it in line with SEO. And now that we've analyzed all the different strategies of finding new clients and customers online, we can take a step back and look at the results. Let's have a look at influencer marketing. It takes a short amount of time to get the traffic and the impact in your business, potentially, but there's a high amount of risk of you not getting the same results every single month. We can look at SEO. We can see that it takes a while to get results, but when you do get results, there's a high probability of you seeing predictable leads and new customers. Organic posting, on the other hand, takes just as long as SEO, if not longer, to start seeing results. And it's also not the most predictable way of spitting out new leads and clients or customers for your business. So the question is, why is everybody raving about organic posting? And it's purely because I believe they don't know any better. But again, without offending anybody, I also understand that all advice is bad advice, because it all depends on what your business actually wants, needs, and on the flip side of that, it's what is contextual to your resources, to your budget, and everything else. So to be fair, I want to play devil's advocate and be as diplomatic as possible to all the strategies out there. But looking at SEO, influencer marketing, organic posting, looking at paid ads, we can see that there is a short amount of time for you to actually see something happen within the business. And number 2, we can see there's a high probability of you getting predictable results. So after looking at these 4 strategies in the market and looking at your business then as a business owner, and this is where you have to put on your own perspective, because nobody knows and understands your business and your industry better than you do. We don't know what resources you have. Only you know what budget you have available and what number is going to make you anxious or not. Considering that if you are a small business who want to get results in the quickest amount of time and the most predictable fashion, then it's safe to assume that paid ads is going to be the best solution. However, does this mean that you should stop posting organically at all? No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying it's still something that you can consider doing, but it's a luxury more than a necessity for you to build a better business. So if it was me, if I was starting out, I would run a competition, do some form form of giveaway in order to get more followers. And the moment you have between 2,000 and 3,000 followers on your page, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, then that's really enough from a credibility standpoint. Because if someone had to click through the ad and come to your page and see what you're all about, they will see that 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000 people are following you, which is basically the barrier to the psychological trust and credibility, if that makes sense. Someone's going to be like, hey, you've only got 10 followers, which means I don't know if I can trust you. But the moment you in the thousands, people go, this is a legitimate business. So beyond that, there's no real predictable return on investment to building a bigger audience. And on the flip side of that, the time and energy spent on that audience can be better spent somewhere else where you can make better impact in the business and generate more revenue and profit. So to conclude, I try to get to 2,000-3,000 followers as quickly as possible. I would then maintain posting once or twice a week maximum, just to showcase that you are active and that you're relevant in the industry. And the rest of my time, energy, and money would then be put into an ad strategy that can help me predictably get results for my business. And we've worked with over 300 companies now since 2018. This is what we do. And if you know, the V8 Group has got an arm called V8 Capital, which is one of our investment divisions. And as we've been investing in businesses, all we do is we look at the paid ad strategy side of it to launch these businesses. We've launched 2 to 3 businesses now recently over the last 6 months, and all 3 of them are profitable on the back of paid ads. So that is my perspective on the matter. I know there's a lot of people who might not necessarily agree with me, so I would love to get your feedback. Maybe leave it in the comments if you're open to it. But in a nutshell, this concludes my perspective on what a small to medium-sized business should do when starting out if they're looking for the quickest results in the most predictable way. I hope there was some value in this video. If you enjoyed it, I want to encourage you to like and subscribe for more content like this. That's all from my side. Cheers.